Do now, what you guys are going to do is you're just going to unmute yourselves, or you can write your responses in a chat. So we're going to be doing a little bit of a comic book page design as a way to learn to add text to images in Photoshop. So I just wanted to start off just with a little warm up, do now, and ask you guys, what are the elements of a comic book? What makes a comic book different from a novel? And you guys can unmute yourselves or write in the chat. The use of onomatopoeia, yes. So we have like those sounds, the action words, the sounds, pow, zap, bam. What else? Pictures. So Jordan said pictures, Marielle said many graphics. Yeah, so when we look at a comic book, we have that visual element. We have a lot of the images doing the storytelling, and then the words kind of are going along with that rather than just the words. Awesome. Anything else you guys want to add? All right. Well, if you want to jump in, you can just say it in the chat or unmute yourself. Okay. So before we get started, I just kind of wanted to discuss the characteristics of a comic book, since that's what we're doing. So still got some people joining us here. So when we think about a comic book, exactly what you guys were discussing and sharing, it's a book or a magazine, and it uses drawings to tell stories. So it's a lot of the times in a comic book, it's actually a series. So there's one overall topic. So it could be like The Walking Dead, and then there's a series. There's different, just like kind of like TV. There's episodes that are in different books. And a graphic novel is a little bit different because it doesn't have to be in a series. So it looks like a comic book. It's visual. It has that text. It has that action, like all of you guys were saying. A lot of the time it has superheroes, that type of topic, but it doesn't have to necessarily be in a series. So it could just be a standalone one book. And just let me know, you guys, if you have any questions as we go along. All right, so now we're just gonna go over our objectives. Is there anybody who could read them for us or share? Jeremy, you wanna read them? I see you're unmuted there.
I'll read it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, John.
Students will learn to add, modify, and customize text on an image. Students will develop a comic strip narrative and utilize emphasis in their design. Students will explain the impact of text style on the stories/words.
Perfect. So we're going to do a few different things. And the first thing that we're going to do, I'll do in my demonstration. I'm going to show you guys how to add the text. And then you're going to do the development of a narrative on your own and think about how to emphasize certain parts of the dialogue. And then the last part we're going to do at the end of class for our exit ticket, we're just going to talk about how we think the way text looks impacts the actual story or words. And that's what you're going to be using in your designs. So for this assignment, you will learn to insert type and to modify text style, which is the font, the size, the kerning, the tracking, and the leading. So what you guys are going to do is I actually made you, I especially made these just for you, blank comic strips, and you're going to add your own story in based on the images. So the ones that I made, I have a few different options here. Do you guys recognize what's going on here? What are these comic books about, or who are they? So I made, yeah, go ahead.
Dragon Ball Z.
Yes.
You got Among Us, and you have Powerpuff Girls.
Yes. Okay. So I was looking at like blank comic strips, and I'm like, some of these are a little bit boring. So I want to try and challenge you and like put different images together and see if you can come up with your own stories. So what you guys are going to be doing is you're going to be adding shapes, adding text, and customizing and like writing your own story page of this comic book. So these are the different options that you have. And for any of you who are advanced, who've used Photoshop before, you were in my class last year, I actually want you to design your own strip. You can add your own images. And I actually have one that's blank, so you can like add the images in. I've been given too much power. Yes. Okay, so these are just some examples of things you can do with text in a comic book to really like emphasize, put in some action. This is something that we don't normally see in like a regular book, so it's special to a comic book. So it's something that I want you guys to do in this project. Okay, so one thing that using text does like that in that style, we can use emphasis. So emphasis is a strategy that aims to draw the viewer's attention to a specific design element. So on this page, what do you guys think is emphasized? So it's supposed to be an eye-catching part that stands out, distinct from the rest of the design elements. Yes, we're going to be using Photoshop. So on this design, the cover page, there's a really big emphasis on the title, the wow. It's 3D and it pops out, and the rest of the text doesn't. So that's one way that designers use emphasis. Okay, so just a quick overview on what we're going to be using today. We're going to be using the character panel in Photoshop. And I know you guys are going to need a little refresher, so don't worry if you feel like you forget the layout and everything. I'm going to go over it again. But just so you guys know exactly what I'm going to be working on, it's going to be the window it's going to be the panel, the character panel. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop open that panel, and you're going to kind of experiment with the different features on this and see what it actually does to the text. So while I do my demo, you guys can actually open Photoshop and play around with it and see what the actual results are on the text when you use this panel. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit of information for you guys on what we're going to be adjusting on the text. So just to give you a visual overview, and then I'm going to actually show you in Photoshop. So kerning is, what do you guys think it is based on these images? I'm going to actually let you guys figure this out. And you can unmute yourselves or write in the chat. What do we think kerning is? Just based on the image.
The spacing between letters.
Awesome. Okay, so kerning is the spacing in between letters. And we're going to be adjusting that and changing that today. So just so you guys see what it looks like, without kerning, we have letters. Sometimes fonts have like a little bit of weird spacing in between specific letters. So you guys can see how the A and the D and Advantage at the top are really close. And then the D and the V are a little more spaced out. So you can actually adjust it so that letters look a little bit more evenly spaced. And then also when we're doing our comic strip, we could do it so like towards the end of the word, if we want to space out letters more for emphasis, we can do that. So here's just another example. So kerning is the spaces in between specific letters. And then if we want to adjust the whole word and spread them out more, it's called tracking. These are just some more examples here. Okay, so just one more that I want to show you guys, and then I'll get into my demo. What do we think leading is? And it rhymes with sledding. I know it looks like leading, but it's pronounced leading. What do we think that leading is based on this diagram? I pulled up the answer by accident. It's actually the spaces in between lines, in between baselines of text. So if there's an imaginary line under your text, it's the space between that and the next line. So when you do like an essay and they want it double space, you're actually adjusting the leading. And these are the definitions. I have them on Google Classroom as well. But I just wanted to go over them with you guys so you have a little bit of understanding of the vocabulary, and then I'm going to actually do the demonstration. Okay, so for my demonstration, this is my example that I made for you guys. What we're going to do is we're going to review opening Photoshop, adding an image, adding text, adding in different shapes for our bubbles, and adjusting text with the character panel. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to try this together. I just want you guys to open up Photoshop and make a new document. So everyone, you can do that right now. I'm going to share my screen. Are you guys able to see Photoshop?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so what you guys are going to do once you open Photoshop is you're just going to make a new document, and we're going to add some text. And if you're unable to do this along with me now, you can also just watch. And you guys, if you need me to slow down or speed up, just let me know in the chat, or I think there's like a button you can press to in Zoom. Okay, so what we're going to start by doing is in our tools panel on the left side, we're going to click on the type tool. And then I'm going to click and drag to make a text box. So you can't really see mine right now because it's on a really small font for some reason. So I'm just going to make it really big so you guys can see. So this is the basic way that we're going to add text to Photoshop. So in the document, so we just click on the type tool, and what you guys will see is it makes a layer for when you, whenever you add text, it makes a separate layer. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is show you guys how to change the fonts. Okay, so what you guys can see is I already actually used a font here. It's called Pinewood. And the way I did that was I just selected the text that I wanted to change, and I went up to my options bar on the top of my screen and browsed through the fonts. It's just loading a little bit slow here. I browsed through the fonts here and then picked one that I liked. And the really cool thing about Photoshop is you can actually install, there's thousands of free fonts out there, like comic book style fonts that you can install and use in your design for 100% free, which is really cool. Yeah, dafont.com, exactly. That's it. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's a perfect resource. And then what you do is you just go there and you type in comic, and it comes up. And there's all these different free fonts that you can use. Okay, so now what I'm going to show you guys is adjusting in the character panel. So, and just let me know if you guys need me to review anything or you're lost. You may slow down, speed up. So also in the options bar, I can change the size if I need to. Okay, so what I'm going to show you now is the options panel. So we go to window, the character panel, sorry, window and character. Okay, so this is the little panel that I was telling you guys about. So if I want to adjust the spacing on certain letters or on the whole word, I'm going to show you what I have to do. So right now there's way too big of a space in between Mrs. Woods. So what I'm going to do is highlight that space, and I'm going to go to the option right here. I don't know why it's not loading. Here we go. So this is for the tracking. So what I can do is right now it's at 0. So if I want the space to be smaller, I can try -50. I'm gonna go even more actually. Okay, so I adjusted that space. It's still a little bit big. So I could make a custom number like -200, whatever I need it to look like. Does anyone have any questions so far? You guys are really quiet today. All right, hope everything's okay. Okay, so now what I wanted to show you guys is, do I have a question? How you did the thing to your name? Could you be a little more specific? Do you mean the style of font? So in order to change the font, I'm going to highlight the text. Oops. And then go up to the options bar, which is at the top of the Photoshop screen. Oops. And then you can select which font that you'd like from this menu. Does that answer? Okay, perfect. Okay, so having a little technical difficulties here, you guys. My computer's being a little slow. Okay, so now what I want to show you guys is adding in some shapes. So on the Google Classroom assignment, I actually uploaded a whole bunch of different bubbles, like speech bubbles and callouts for you to add to your comic strips. So what you guys can do is download the ones that you like. And the easiest way is just to download them. And once you already have your comic strip open, you can choose whichever one that you'd like. You can just drag them in to the screen. So I'm just going to open up and show you guys an example. Callouts. There we go. So all I did to get this into Photoshop was just click and drag. And then I can adjust it, make it bigger, smaller by dragging in the corner. And then I can click on the move tool, which is the top left on our toolbar, and move it to where I want it to be. Okay, and there's a whole bunch of really cool ones you guys can decide from. You guys can choose whichever ones you'd like. And then I'm going to drag over and start typing what I'd like to add in. So this is a font that I found on DaFont, and it was a free font. It's called Smelly Blood. So see how it's like a dripping style. Okay, so let's take a look at what fonts I can use here. Sorry, you guys, my Photoshop's really slow today. Okay. So this is another font that I downloaded, Manga Temple. And Heroes Legend is another one. Okay, so one other thing I need to show you guys is, I'm not gonna worry about changing the font right now because it's being really slow. One thing I wanted to show you guys is how to add color to the text. So all I do is just highlight the text that I want to adjust. Even if I just wanna do like one letter, highlight it, and then go to my options panel on the right side, the layers panel on the right side of my screen, and I can adjust just by clicking in the color panel. Okay, you guys, I think I'm gonna have to quit Photoshop. It's really not working for me right now. Technical difficulties. Oh, now it's changing all the colors. Okay, so one last thing I want to show you guys on what you can do with the text is you can do text warping. So on your options panel at the top of your screen, there's this little icon with a T that has a like a curve under it. And what you can do, my computer is struggling. You can click, I'm just gonna show you guys and then quit Photoshop because it's being really slow. At the top of your screen, you click on the warp text button. Okay. Just gotta let this load. Sorry, you guys. I've closed everything that I can. Unfortunately, the only thing I have right now is Zoom and Photoshop. Thanks for the suggestion though. Okay, so for warp text, what you do is you can decide what type of style you'd like. And this is really cool for comic because you can really adjust the way, adjust the way that it looks. Like you can give it a curve, an arc. You can bulge it so it's like round to fill in your bubble. Give it a rise so it's kind of waving like a flag. See how the font is like now on an angle here? Okay, so that's a cool thing that you guys can do. So I'm gonna quit Photoshop now because it's being really slow right now. I hope that was helpful to you guys. I'm sorry it was kind of choppy because the program's running a little bit slow. Do you guys feel like you were able to get the gist? I can actually record it again too without the Zoom issues to show you guys the different tools as well, if that would be helpful.
Do you want me to add the link now?
Not yet, not yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you fix your toolbar? So if there's ever anything that looks a little bit funny in Photoshop, I can show you, Marielle, because I just closed Photoshop, but on the top right-hand side of your screen, it says, there's like a little magnifying glass. You just click on that and reset your essentials. So your layout will look all the same. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to my lesson. Okay, so let's go over the criteria for the assignment now. So hopefully now you have an understanding of some of the tools, the text tools, and adjusting the text, warping the text. And this is the type of result you guys can get. So what your criteria for this assignment is you can create your own comic book page design based on either the Powerpuff Girls comic, the Among Us comic, or the Dragon Ball Z one. So what the criteria is that you have to create call out shapes or add them in from the folder on Google Drive for your bubbles for your text. So see how I have like little white squares, little speech bubbles and shapes. So you guys on the assignment, there's a folder, you can download them and then just pick whichever ones you want and add it to your work. So what you're going to do is develop original dialogues based on the sequence of events shown in one of the comic strips. You get to pick and then add your text in. You must then alter the kerning, tracking, and leading of text. So if you need to adjust the lines and the spacing in between the letters, you guys know how to do that now. And you can decide on 2 to 3 fonts that you can adjust by like the spacing or the warping in your own design. And then you're going to create one action word or bubble based on the images. So it could be like ow, I have ow in here, and shush, and then jab. And this is going to be due on Friday. And if you guys do need more time for it, we won't have assignments over the next 2 weeks. So you can also take a little bit more time and let me know if you do need extra. Okay, so now we're going to do our exit ticket. Heaven is going to drop the link in the chat. So you guys can just click on the link in the chat and fill in the reflection. There's only 2 questions. I'm going to pull that up on my screen. Thanks for your patience, you guys. I know that wasn't the most smooth thing. And if anybody wants to stay and has extra questions after your exit ticket, I can go over it again. Thank you for coming.
Welcome. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Hope everybody's doing well. We'll chat, Miss Woods. Okay. Hi,
Okay.
students. You're hiding behind your. Hi, Samantha, Angel, Nafisa. How is
Hello.
everybody? Antonio, this is like my
Tired.
This is like my college now class. Oh, Jonathan's here too. This is my whole class. Oh, I miss you guys. Who said they're tired? Heaven?
I didn't speak.
Huh?
I said I was tired.
Who just said that?
Samantha.
Oh, Samantha, you tired?
Yeah.
Did you stay up too late?
No.
No, just tired, perpetually tired. You guys are funny. All right, guys. Well, it's good to see everybody. I'll see you soon.
Nice to hear from you.
You
Have
too.
a good day.
You too, guys.
All right, you guys. So did everybody... So we have Jair. This is for your participation. So you guys got to make sure you're doing this. I only have 7 people on here so far. Ethan, Jair, Idris, Jeremy, Heaven, Marielle, Jonathan, and Samantha. Whoever 404-90612 is, you got to restart and put your name. All right. So there's just a couple questions asking you guys, just reflecting about how text impacts words and then what we were learning today. I'm going to try to actually open up Photoshop again. All right, just let me know when you guys finish that up.
I'm done.
Okay, it's my Photoshop seems to be working a lot better now. Okay, finish with the exit ticket. Okay, so if you guys feel like you got it and you're good to go, we're gonna wrap up. I'm gonna stay for a few more minutes and just go over this again because I just had some students join. And also our last version was kind of interrupted because the Photoshop was loading slow. So just wanna show you guys, I dragged in one of the speech bubbles and I'm gonna add in some text now just by clicking and dragging. Okay, and then to change the font, I just go up to the options bar, select the font that I like. I can adjust the size. And I can even use the word warping right here, which is at the top of my screen. It's the letter T with like the curve under it. Ooh, that looks cool. And then I can just kind of like click and drag. Click and drag these settings to make it how I want it to look. Okay, so far this is working a lot better now. Okay, what color should I do, you guys? Some blue. So one thing I'm gonna actually adjust here is the spacing. I want the so the H's at the end to be a little bit more spaced out. So I'm just gonna highlight the H's and increase the tracking on those letters. Okay, so one thing I didn't show you guys as well is just if I want to rotate this text, I'm just going to use the free transform tool. And just to use that on a Mac, it's Command T. And then on a Windows, it's Control T. Just make sure that you have the layer selected, because if you don't, it's going to actually add a text box for you. Okay, what do you guys think of that? Nice. Okay. So does anyone have any questions? Are we like not really understanding? Because I know it's pretty quiet right now. So I don't know if you guys are just like totally lost or if you're just quiet. Are we adding to the picture? Yes. So you're making a comic strip. So like the criteria when I was showing you, you get to pick which comic strip you want, and you have to add the words and the speech bubbles. So this is, so we are just adding text. No, you have to add the words and the speech bubbles. So this is what it's going to look like. So I uploaded this to Google Classroom. So this is the exemplary example. So you're going to add in all of your boxes and your shapes, and then you're going to add in the words, so the story. And you can kind of write whatever you'd like for your story. And the requirements are that you have at least one action word. Where do you pull the speech bubble from? So on Google Classroom, there's a folder. Let me show you guys on Google Classroom. Okay, so on the assignment, you have the lesson, the slides, you have the 3 blank comic strips. Okay, and then there's a folder. Do you see this folder here? Call outs for comic strips. So if you click on that folder,